servicing the aircraft before we board, and Al is looking pretty situated. I'm to the right of him next to the window and quite comfy. We absolutely love the upper deck. It's so comfortable, small, and quaint. It is so awesome to have a friend take a picture of your aircraft taking off, and it's even better to watch it once you're home. 2 mornings later, this was the view while we were having breakfast, overlooking the Danube and the Parliament building. We were situated between a monastery that had remnants to the left of us, to the right of us, and underneath us. I must say this was one of the most spectacular views known to my memory.
This is the crumbling old church that we saw from our hotel room, and this is how the Hilton has utilized it, and they've made it into a wine cellar, and that's where we're going.
You can see the Danube that separates the Buda from the Pest side, and we're on the old Pest side on the square. These buildings are from the 13th century. Al and I are having a lovely time strolling around the old plaza. You can still see the Turkish and Ottoman influence with the colorful ceiling tiles and the architecture. This whole plaza was built after the war so the people could commemorate the heroes. There were restaurants and there were beautiful views, and we had lovely breezes. I hope you're able to catch the beautiful views of the Parliament in between some of these photos. Yes, we had wonderful Wienerschnitzel here. It was right across from our hotel. Of course, this was once a castle, and it has a rowing lake in front of it. It was a very hot day, so I'm sure people were enjoying this. There was even a couple that was having their wedding photographs made, and we were fortunate enough to see this. It was quite interesting. It was a stairway to a sacred area to pray. Al and I both were doing a lot of this and a lot of this. Why not? We're totally hooked on goulash. I must learn to make it. This is the front of the castle that was on the other side of the rowing lake we looked at. We didn't really take the tour because it was too much of a library and not enough museum for our tastes. But I must say the architecture was stunning. Of course, there was a very lavish cathedral on the grounds as well. It was a hot and humid 98 degrees. So I was very eagerly looking for a place to have a nice, cool, refreshing drink and maybe a little pastry. We found it at the Budapest Astoria. I had to point out to what I wanted because their English was still quite vague. This hotel had been there since the World War II, and Hitler occupied the Astoria with his generals. They took me downstairs and showed me some secret rooms that were locked, but they were very interesting anyway. The gentleman working here wanted us to know for a fact this building was known as the Tower of Terror and stay away from it. Hitler did terrible things to people here. Notice there are 2 levels that are still very vacant. We quickly learned this is the symbol for a pharmacy. Look at this beautiful pharmacy we walked into to get some antihistamines. The pharmacists were so sweet and helpful, but they have to get everything from behind the counter. The locals kept telling us to look for the Budapest market, so all of our walking finally paid off. We found a plethora of interesting things once we entered this fabulous building. I don't think I've ever seen such large fruit and vegetables in my life. I didn't film the seafood because it was kind of a turn-off, but they had meats, fish, lamb, goat, anything you wanted, it was there. You had to pay to use all the restrooms in Bavaria and Germany. Upstairs they had the beautiful and lavish festive wear that you could purchase, but where else would you wear it? We saw a lot of the handmade artifacts that they use for their Christmas bazaars. We also saw foods that were prepared to go home, goulash, stuffed cabbages, and this restaurant had beautiful wax-melted wine bottles. Al found the tablecloths and doilies section. I was so impressed the way the women really dress up to go shopping. I don't think things have changed that much in all these years. Everybody today has an eye in the sky, and you can rent these to tour the city in. Being the history buffs we are, We scoured the buildings and we could see shell casings and holes that were left from World War II. Every place has outdoor cafes. These buildings are loaded with families that live there on different levels. Not very many things come up for sale because it is all family. Being on a structured tour doesn't really give you the time that you need to thoroughly discover a city like Budapest, such as going through the castles, going through the parliament, talking to the people, which so happens to be one of our most favorite things to do. They teach us so much about their city and their life, their culture, their architecture, and how they live and how they've endured. It's going to be so worth it. We're crossing over the Lionsgate Bridge, and the story is, the unveiling, some man said, "The lions have no tongue." The artist threw himself in the river to drown himself, but he was fortunately rescued. What an absolutely stunning view of the Parliament building. Another example of housing. We're sitting at the restaurant looking back at our hotel while we're enjoying probably goulash and Wienerschnitzel, taking pictures of each other. And yes, our feet are absolutely worn out. Cannot wait to board our ship and be pampered by the lift of a feeble finger. All the music and fanfare and beauty of approaching our ships, and we were surprised to see that you can walk through several ships to get to your own. We were aboard the Isla, the mother of Heimdall, the father of the gods. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.